Welcome everybody. My name is TJ Van Voorhees, and I've been an EO member, I think, now 6 or 7 years. I see a lot of new faces that I haven't met over the years, so hopefully I'll be able to meet you guys soon. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about motivating employees and leading top talent, but I'm going to do the presentation a little differently. I really want to engage everybody in this, so it's going to be, if everybody's in a forum, it's going to be more of a forum environment as we go through this, because I think we'll get a lot more out of it. I've been in business for 18 years, and I think one of the biggest struggles that I've encountered in my consulting business and meeting with other businesses, which I've done hundreds of businesses over the years, is this constant challenge with employees. And oftentimes what we find as business owners is that we blame our struggles and our problems and our issues on our employees as one of our biggest challenges that we face. So I want to ask you all a couple questions. I'm also going to tell you that there is going to be a little technical stuff going on here that's challenging for me. There we go. Let me talk about the agenda real quick. This event, like I said earlier, it's for you guys, so this is an opportunity for you guys to engage as much as possible. We're going to talk about probably one of the biggest things that I see often with business owners is the struggle of the business owner saying that, do my employees get it? Do they understand what the hell I'm actually trying to do and why I started this business? And then we're going to go through how you attract the best talent into your business, retaining the talent that you have, retaining new talent as you bring them in, and then motivating the people that you have as you go along. So that's basically the outline. Excuse me. We're going to tailor the event, and so the first thing I want to do is I just want to ask a few questions of everybody. How many people in here, if you can just raise your hand, is your business 1 million to 2 million in revenue, annual revenue? So about half. How many of you are 2 to 5 million in revenue? And say 5 to 10 million? One? And anybody 10 million above? Okay, cool. Challenges relative to working with the employees that you have. Can you guys give me, anybody, very simple, just raise your hand. Anybody find themselves struggling with how they communicate or struggling with employee performance, struggling with your employees? Consider it, let's do it like 50% of my time is spent on this. Less than 50%? Okay, 25% or less? Quarter of your time? Okay, so somewhere between, so your management issues in your leadership position is somewhere between 25 and 50% of your time is, to use a different direct term, screwing around with employee issues. Fair to say? With the people that are 25 to 50%, let me just go through and see if we can get some volunteers on saying what are some of the issues that you have problems with relative to your employees. Go ahead.
The core value side of things and getting them to truly believe that the core values are what drive the company, not the numbers part that we refer to, right?
Right.
Because they like to say it's all about the numbers, and I say, no, we're talking about the numbers because that's where you're not at right now, but this core values portion.
Core values, do your employees believe what you believe?
Correct.
Right? So that's probably one of the big issues that you're like, hello, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest day-to-day.
Anybody else have that issue? Do your employees get it, why you are in business? How many people feel like your entire staff or the majority of your staff understand what the purpose of your business is? Where you're like, rock solid. Just raise your hand on that. 1, 2 people? Okay, so about half of the group feels like everybody in my company has got it. They get what we do. Okay?
Are you the only employees?
Thank you for asking that. That's the next question. How many people, employees 10 or less? A little less than half. 15 or less? Okay, so half of us is 15 or less, and how about 20 or less? Or, 15 to 20 employees? Okay, and 20 and above? So a couple, 3? Cool. So we'll kind of adjust around that as we move through. Let's talk about, do they get it and do you get it? And this is an interesting concept about what I'm talking about. How many people are familiar with the Simon Sinek video? One person seen it? I'm going to play a video for a couple people have seen it. I'm going to play a video for just a couple minutes. And it's about the idea of this, and this is a place where I'm now challenged. So because I'm so technically competent, I'm going to escape out of this, and we'll have to come back through the screens to get back to this. Whoops. There we go.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet, they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer from me? All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe.
So I can go, this is an 18-minute video, and we'll provide you a link to it, etc. But it's an interesting concept, and listening to Simon Sinek, if you've never heard him before, I totally recommend that you listen to his videos because he has very inspirational elements. And the reason I played this video is that all of us have businesses, and some of our people come to work and they do a good job and then they leave. But there's nothing that's really driving them. And what I'm interested in really quickly is how many of you really, we talked about it in the very beginning, said that everybody really understands the purpose of why you started your business. And my question to you is, do you really understand the reason why you started your business? And are you able to articulate the purpose of your business to your employees so that they actually get it? So I'll give you a couple quick examples. We have another EO member, John Younger. He owns a colo cloud recruiting. And if you were just talking about what they do, basically what they do is they have an electronic online recruiting system, and the purpose or the reason that they do that is, you can go in and you can electronically log in. It makes it really easy. But they actually are driven from a why. And when they communicate to their clients, when they communicate to their staff, when they communicate completely within their system, they're talking from their why out. And their why is a very simple why. They want to reduce down the friction of the recruiting process because they really want to reduce down unemployment. That's their why. That's it. Pretty simple. So everything that he does and everything that their company drives towards and communicates about isn't about what and how they're doing it. They talk about the why, and then they move through that process. Another simple example of one is another, used to be EOer. They started a food delivery company for schools, but what they really wanted a why is that they were committed to the idea of, we want to create an environment where we're providing the best and healthiest food to schools because the children, the kids, whatever, this is a huge issue. It was really important to them from a why standpoint. It wasn't about making the profit. It wasn't about this is how we deliver it, but it was about delivering really good quality food to kids. And their whole company focuses in on that. And it's something that the employees, everybody in that company can identify with all the way down to the lowest level about the quality and the essence of the food. So much so that it is all the way down to the preparers. I mean, they are committed and they are locked into that idea, and it brings an extra level of motivation to them as opposed to their competitors, which is we just deliver food. So I want to go through really quickly and just see how quickly, this is the put you on the pressure, why do you do what you do for your company? What is the why of your company?
So the company is Covaris, and we're a technology system integrator. And what we saw coming when we started the company is a lot of companies out there just sell a product, and the key to customers seeing the value of IT is the integration of those different components together. So it's not technology that solves problems; it's the people and process that solve those problems, and that's the value of why we started it, is being able to integrate those different pieces together, people, process, and technology, to deliver a solution to a customer.
And do you feel, can all your employees say that same thing?
Well, it's funny that you bring this up, because right now we're working with an outside marketing firm to try to get this, because with hiring new people, the answer is no.
Okay.
So we're bringing people on, and this I find very, very interesting, because even listening to this, I don't think it's to that why, though.
Right.
And trying to hone that down is something that I'm very eager of learning more and figuring out right now.
Okay. Tuan?
We actually saw this and we tried to figure out what our why was. And so we came up with challenge conventional thinking. And we try to, we tried to see if it actually fits what we do, because we like it. We like saying it.
Uh-huh.
And we like doing it when we can. We also do IT work. So when we provide a solution or an answer to a client, and we aren't doing what they would expect us to do or what most people would do, that's when we go, yeah, that's our why.
That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Greg?
So we beautify and protect people's homes and businesses by painting them.
Okay. And everybody in your company is like, that's it? They're hooked on that purpose?
See and habla.
Steve?
Actually, we did this exercise a while back, and we all decided that our tagline is that we serve our clients' clients.
You serve your clients' clients.
Yeah, so we roll out RT stuff and websites and things like that, and if they're not designed to fit our clients' needs, versus just being like another service provider and serving clients, then we weren't doing a good job.
Okay. And do you feel like your staff, the people that are, they know it, and they're like, I'm coming to work because I'm here to serve my people or my clients' service? Uh-huh.
How are you putting yourself in the shoes of our clients' clients so that they have a better experience with our clients?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, they know that they're gauged on that response.
Right. Cool.
And so ours is we exist to get people better. That's it.
You exist to get people better.
You got it.
Okay. And you guys are
Physical therapy.
physical therapy. And you feel like all your staff are hooked to that?
So what I mentioned earlier, yeah, everybody is on board with that. How we get there, it's the daily discussion, right?
Yeah.
That's what's, yeah.
Yeah. Kim, I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
Mike.
Mike?
So I think we help student athletes develop and improve their chances of playing at the next level.
Okay.
And we do like college sports recruiting. So
And that's your why? Why?
that's
Okay. Okay. Franca?
We try to focus on the entrepreneurs on their why and not make accountants or HR consultants out of them.
Okay.
Ours is improving the digital world. We do user experience research for companies that have websites and tablet applications and mobile applications.
Okay.
I have a video production company, and ours is to celebrate our client stories, be courageously creative, and deliver exceptional customer service.
Okay.
We're trying to hone that down a little bit, but that's the
Right. What's your name? I'm sorry.
David Collier.
David? David?
Yeah.
Call you? Okay.
Also, David, we work in industrial automation, and I'm sort of reconsidering everything, so I'm having trouble spitting out what our why would be. I think we really exist because we really want to be knowledgeable about how our products work and applying them better than people that you would work with, people that you would work with. So
Okay.
we really want to be knowledgeable and technical as opposed to salespeople. So.
Right. And
I'm Mike Colella. I have a company that tracks online advertising and lets you see where your competitors are advertising online. So I'm having a little trouble with this, but I think we exist to make online advertising more, or competitive intelligence for online advertising more affordable and accurate. So there's some big players in the space that are very high priced, and there's a big market out there that can't really afford their services.
Okay. And your name is?
Jennifer Bunkers.
Jennifer?
We help children lead healthier lives by removing chemicals from skincare.
Okay.
Or True Kid All Natural Skincare for Kids.
Cool. And do you feel like your staff are hooked to that why?
Totally.
Completely. They're passionate about it. They get up and they're like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm Kevin. I actually just joined yesterday, so we're a general contracting builder, and I was kind of thinking, we improve the quality of life for people. One, for building a quality product for the homeowner or a restaurant owner, and two, for our employees. I mean, I definitely help the quality of their lives because a lot of them are Hispanic, and I provide a job for them. And they take a lot of pride in what we do because we do a lot of high-end work, and I definitely appreciate them because they appreciate the work that they do because they get to see a lot of results out of it. So that's kind of what I put all together on this. So I'm excited to be here, and yeah, this is really important for me because engaging employees is hard because a lot of them can't really speak English.
Right.
So I hired certain people that can speak English and Spanish. So I need to get them more excited about the business.
Right.
Then they need to relay the information to them as well.
So an interesting thing about the discussion here right now is like, if you were to rate, let's just say, enthusiastic. Remember when you started your business, right? We all started that business. It's like, I got a vision, man, and you were dialed into it. Most of us don't start a business and go, at least from an entrepreneurial statistical standpoint, most of us don't start a business and say, I'm going to start a business to make this money, period. We usually have a vision. We're usually something that we appeal to and we believe something. And that's actually a why. I'm doing this because of something. And what happens as you move along is that it's so clear to us as business owners, but we have this struggle of trying to make it clear to the people who work for us. And that struggle is because we haven't really clearly defined what that why is within us of why we started the business. And after you struggle and you struggle and you struggle, then it just starts kind of falling into this place of, well, I'm just doing this business to make some damn money, right? And you lose that passion. You fall into these, I got to deal with the accounting, I got to deal with the HR, I got to deal with these employee issues, I got to do whatever. But really what you started was that I got into PT because I really could see results of fixing people and turning, instead of them just going to the doctor and having surgery, we could actually do something that made their lives better. And that was rewarding. It made it so that you could get up in the morning and go to work, right? The same type of thing as any kind of entrepreneur. We have a vision of what we want, and we dial into that, and we hopefully surround ourselves with the people that think the way we think, right? Your company. It's really easy to identify with what your why is. Come in, it's like you either get it or you don't get it, right? We're here to take the chemicals out of products so that children aren't exposed to them. I'm sorry, I didn't nail it. Go ahead and say it again.
What did I say before?
Let me put you on the spot.
We help children have healthier lives by removing toxins from skincare.
There you go. Healthier lives. Not too hard to identify with, right? I mean, you come and you're like, well, I'm pretty motivated by that. As a matter of fact, maybe you don't even have to pay me top dollar because this is really cool. People can identify with that very quickly.
Well, and we hire interns a lot every year,
Mm-hmm.
and we hire with that, policy in mind. And when they get on board, they're on board the moment they start.
Right.
They get what we do.
Yeah. So they get what you do, and here's an interesting part. That's what you say you do. But if I came to work for you and all you were interested in was just making money, right? I'm going to be disillusioned. It's like, wait a second. I'm here to help remove these products, and yet you're really not interested in that. You're just using that as a marketing tagline. We're not actually taking stuff out, right? So I'm not saying that that's the case by any means, but you get the difference of there are people that come to work, and when they come to work, it's a job. But what a difference it is when they actually get what you get, when they're dialed into the reason why you're doing what you do. That's part of what Simon Sinek is talking about when he goes through his video. I recommend you check it out. But we engage as human beings in purpose. We have a focus of we're more motivated if we have a purpose. So the question is do you get it, why you started your business, and do your employees get it? And why are you doing it? What's your purpose? Not the other way, this is what we do. Another element about attracting, so this is all talking about the next steps of attracting talent, right? So attracting talent isn't that difficult when you're clear on what the why is so that they can identify it and they can be motivated on it. But it also is understanding what your culture is within your company. You want to surround yourself with people who believe what you believe. So if you are, as an example, if you're surrounding yourself and you have a culture within your business environment that is high performance, very tight presentation, very accountable, et cetera, and you want to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people so they have a why, but they also have the same culture. Because if you hire somebody like that who appeals to your why, but is a surfer personality who wants a work-life balance, you've got a problem right there, okay? Also, as you're developing this, is being clear if you want to attract and retain good client is knowing what the direction is that you're heading. So where are we going is a critical element, and what are the priorities that you're setting for that direction. So we may say we're clear on our why, but we may not be clear on what direction we're actually heading, and we may not be focused in on what the priorities are that we want to have. So how many people have actually laid out the goals and objectives for the company this year already? Do you have clearly defined goals and objectives? Okay, how many do you have?
How many goals
and objectives?
19.
19, awesome. How many goals?
We use 3 a quarter for the strategic stuff to move us forward.
Okay.
We change it.
Who else had goals?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing? Okay, how many goals? 3? Okay, have you ever heard and you also, how many goals?
4.
4, okay. You ever heard 3 of 3 as far as priorities? 3 of 3 and 1 of 3. You have 3 goals and objectives that you as the business owner may have 50 in your head, but as far as what you're conveying to the team, as far as moving the company forward, you have 3. And then there's 1 of 3. 3 of 3 and 1 of 3. 1 of 3 is the highest priority. 3 of 3 are the priorities for the quarter. That way you nail them. It also allows the people that you're attracting, right? This is about attracting people. It also allows them to know that you're very clear on what your plan is and where you're headed as a company. Okay, so they're attached to the why, they get it, they understand what the culture is so that you've got a good cultural fit, they know what the direction of the company is and where it's headed and what the priorities are, and then the question is are you surrounding yourself with the right people who actually believe what you believe? If you achieve all of those things, then the next part of what you're looking at is, as you're looking at the staff, and this is, I love this particular one. Anybody feel like this is how they have to treat their employees to get the work done?
Some of them.
Raise your hand on that.
Yeah, some of them.
Okay? There's a few, right? Every now and then you get somebody who's in your company, it's like, man, I gotta
roll it back. Roll it back for everybody and sit there and say someone. Watch everybody in the room scorn.
There's usually an environment like this, and the question you have to ask yourself is, are your employees on board? In other words, are you surrounding yourself with the people who believe what you believe? Because if they don't believe what you believe, if you don't have them, if they're not in alignment with that why, it's going to be difficult to motivate them to perform and to do a good job because they're not dialed in. And if you're not clear on what your why is, they may be bouncing around as well. It's hard to be on board if you don't know what the purpose of the company is, regardless, right? And it doesn't mean, this is an important element, it doesn't mean that every employee in your company has to be high performing. Some people just want to come to work and do the job, right? But if you want to attract top talent and you want to lead top talent and you want to have an environment where people are performing at an enthusiastic high level of motivation, these are the elements you want to have in place. Another quick element is, I'm sure everybody can identify with this, we're not always motivated, right? Some days you just go to work. For entrepreneurs as a personality type, that's hard for us to swallow sometimes. Okay, so if you were able to go through all of those elements and you have those things clear, then you can actually start, you can actually have a solid foundation for attracting top talent. The next part of once you've attracted or you're in the process of attracting top talent is making sure that you have the structural elements together within your company, okay? So structural elements within your company is, how many people have a clearly defined organizational chart for their company? A little less than half, okay? And how many people have within that, what I would say is getting all of the mechanics squared away within your company? You have a clear defined organizational chart. Everybody have clearly defined job descriptions? How many people? 3, 4, less than half? Associated metrics with the performance of that job description?
Stop you on that one?
Sure.
Like, we tried doing job descriptions and we found that they were like cornering and limiting, and I didn't feel like my engineers wanted that. Like, you're going to do this and you're going to do that.
Okay.
They like the freedom, and since we run our office in a Buddhist sense, which is about empowering and freedom, we found the job description an enemy of that. What do you think?
So depending on the detail of the job description, if people aren't clear on what their role is, right? The job description does not have to be a hyper-detailed document. It's basically about saying this is what your role is within this firm and this is how we're going to be evaluating the success of your performance. So my thought to that very point is the things that motivate people is autonomy, purpose, and mastery of whatever they're doing. But if they are split between the typical type A, got to get it done now entrepreneur who says now you're here, and now you're here, and now you're here, and now you're here, that creates an environment that doesn't allow for mastery.
I have that experience.
You have that experience,
Yeah.
okay?
Because I have too many ideas.
I would be inclined to suggest how many people in here have that as an issue.
And today we're going to do this.
Right. We're headed this way. No, we're headed this way. No, we're headed this way. So you can't become a master at anything if you're always shifting off in different directions. So a job description that that they know, this is why I was hired, this is what my role is, and this is how I'll be measured to know that I'm successful. Now leave me alone and I will do it. Okay? Another great example of this leave me alone and I will do it, John Younger's company, I'm going to use him. He has, throughout his entire company, he has unlimited paid time off. Unlimited. There is no vacation tracking, there is no holiday tracking, there's none of that stuff. It's unlimited paid time off because he has clearly defined job descriptions that define the role and how you'll measure success of that employee. As long as they're meeting those standards, you're doing your job.
This is not a California company.
It is a California company.
Is?
Yep. Yep. It's also, he has very huge HR background.
Yeah, so he would know better, right?
He would know better. Yeah.
We're all getting into trouble now for that.
Yeah. So we'll see.
My employees not having track time. Not all of us, but some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The definition of the role is what allows you the protection from that. That's a side topic, and we can totally go into that in greater detail if you're interested.
Time card and haven't signed the hours. It's like,
Oh, when it's regulated, California's fine with it. When it's free, they might get regulated, or they'll sue you.
yeah,
And
I mean, construction company, and they sign their time card and we have to initial it and all that. So
Yeah. It's much more difficult. You have to have high-level performing individuals. Like I was saying, associated metrics, and then again, smart objectives, so that you're actually measuring employees. And what I'm talking about here is making sure that you have the mechanics first squared away within your company. You want to make sure that these elements are in place in order to attract, retain, and motivate top talent. If you don't have these things in place, and also compensation analysis, I'm not sure how many people actually have done a compensation analysis for the positions in your company? One? So you're just
What is
informal.
compensation analysis?
Compensation analysis. So if you have a clearly defined organizational structure and you have clearly defined job descriptions and roles, those usually have a title associated with them. You're a chief engineer, you're a senior accountant, you're a operations manager, whatever the case is. There are industry statistics that tell you that this is what the average pay is for this. This is the 95%. You actually are going out and saying, based on these roles, with these responsibilities, this is what the going rate is for this person. Most of us do it by gut. It's like, well, I can afford that. You know, he might leave it. If you actually take money off of the table as far as performance is concerned, in other words, the person knows, I'm fairly compensated. If I left here, I wouldn't be able to find a job that paid me any more than what I'm doing, et cetera, that you remove that issue, you're going to retain top talent. Because they're not looking, the top talent would also say, hey, I got to get paid fairly. If I'm not getting paid fairly, then it doesn't matter whether you are, you know, motivating me this way, et cetera, unless you've got some really noble cause and they're hooked into a noble cause.
Do you like compensation.com for that? Like I've looked it up, and I think it's called compensation.
Salary.com.
Yeah. Salary.com, yeah.
What are the other tools that you use?
PayScale is another site.
Salary is good, actually.
Salary.com, PayScale. There was a couple other that you usually have on
There
them.
are, but then also just getting out there and looking at the jobs that are posted.
Okay.
Because doing your own informal
That's what
search.
we do a lot of, and we also talk to just other friends in the industry to find out how much they're paying people for similar roles.
Right.
Because the big salary.com and PayScale, they're national. They try to focus in and be selective, but you can have a very small sampling and not know that you're looking at a small sampling. So it's a good idea to look at industry.
Right.
Aren't those numbers self-reported on salary.com? So somebody
Right.
mentioned to me that maybe they're over,
Right.
a little bit too high.
Sometimes if you have a huge sampling, you can get a pretty accurate figure, but often they're not that accurate. If it's a job that is it's a less common job title, you know, something that's
Yeah. A lot of associations also will have compensation information. So if you're of a specific, like if you're a medical or you know, construction or whatever, you can usually get analysis of company and what the compensation is for certain positions. So there's a number of different ways to get compensation. But the key is, and the important part is, as long as you are paying your people, your top talent, in an area where it's like they're not looking for that next, you can take it off the table, then you can work on the areas that are more important. Again,
Could you explain why SMART is in capitals?
yeah, so how many people know what SMART objectives are?
I used to, but I forget.
Franca, what are SMART objectives? Specific.
Time-bound is the last one. Relevant, specific,
Measurable. Attainable.
attainable.
Yep.
Achievable, attainable, yes.
Right. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound.
Write an objective for an employee, and if it's only one, and then ask yourself, of all these 5 things, does it meet those? And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
the objective needs to be written.
So when you're looking at a job description or a role within a company, what you should be able to nail down on 2 or 3 main areas and say, if I were to measure this person, and is it attainable, is it realistic, and how often am I measuring it for them? So that way, what retains and attracts key talent for those types of things, they know what is expected of them. They can be successful, right? That's the key. All of us want to, in our lives, we want to be successful at what we do. If we're constantly missing the mark, we're going to leave. One way or another. You're either going to fire them or they're going to leave on their own. Because if it's not attainable and realistic, they're going to go, this is ridiculous. I'm going to go somewhere where I appreciate, I'm motivated to go to work, I'm excited about it, etc. As entrepreneurs, we like to fix problems, so we tend to focus on problems. Right? So when you have conversations with your employees, you're always talking to them about what's wrong. How do I fix this? Oh, don't worry about the past. We'll fix that problem. Yeah.
You know, you made a great point there, TJ. It just made me think, after we objectified those goals and what their tasks were, we've had more people self-select out, and have therefore had to, people that we thought, oh man, we're gonna have to fire and let these people go. They saw the goals, you know, and whether they were achieving them or not, coaching, and then they self-selected out, and that's been very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we thought but once they knew the goals, right, like you just said, you either you quit or you get fired, but we found most people will self-select out. Now we're getting closer to that team of people who are the right fit.
The team of people who believe what you believe. They're dialed into it.
Yeah.
Okay?
And TJ, one thing
Great
too,
point.
we've changed our hiring processes a lot. In fact, we're working with a new service that John Younger offers in Colo, and it's all, there's an application people fill out with a series of essay questions and a series of multiple choice, so that people from the first exposure to my agency understand exactly what we expect of them and what the goals are. So
Right.
a lot of them, to your word, Jerry, are self-selecting out from the beginning. Makes
Right.
our process much easier.
Yeah.
Most of those people I said self-selected out, yeah, we couldn't get that step to them. We hired them before we did all that. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
So attracting talent, right? Getting the right talent, maintaining the talent you have is making sure you've got those mechanics in first. A lot of the elements that we just talked about retaining, attracting the talent, they also carry over into retaining talent, right? This isn't about the motivating part, but this is about retaining the people you have. And it is, again, like I said, do you have the elements in place that allow them to know whether or not they're successful? As human beings, we want, by nature, we want to be successful, right? We want to be making progress on what we're doing. We also want to identify with something that allows us to say, okay, I'm clear about what I'm trying to do here, right? I go to work, I nail it, etc. So let's just quickly go through what we've talked about so far. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, I think, here.
Yeah, for making it interactive.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as attracting and retaining talent, right, we want to make sure that we articulate the why, that we're able to communicate why we're in business. We are able to define the company goals. Where are we headed? What are our priorities associated with it? We want to make sure that we've got the mechanics in place, right, where you actually have spent the time to sit down. Is this going to be available to everybody online?
Yes, so a lot of tools that you guys, that we're talking about are this guide that you can download from our website.
Yeah, and it's not up now.
To everybody,
Yeah, I was going to say it's not.
You can tell who makes documentaries.
Yeah, it's not up now.
That was good.
It's not up now, but we'll put the slide deck up online as well. Develop the mechanics. Make sure you got it in place. Establish employee goals, and also aligning both goals for mutual growth, right? So your employees are, it's not just about the company. It's also engaging the employees and understanding where they're headed. So those are the steps about making sure that you're attracting and retaining the talent. So now that you've attracted and retained them, how are you going to motivate them? Time-wise, I'm going to go ahead and I'll play this very quickly, but I'm going to cut it off. Anybody familiar with RSA Animate and Dan Pink? Huh? How many people have seen this?
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Our motivations are unbelievably interesting. I mean, I've been working on this for a few years, and I just find the topic still so amazingly engaging and interesting. So I want to tell you about that. The science is really surprising. The science is a little bit freaky, okay? We are not as endlessly manipulable and as predictable as you would think. There's a whole set of unbelievably interesting studies. I want to give you two that call into question this idea that if you reward something, you get more of the behavior you want. If you punish something, you get less of it. So let's go from London to the mean streets of Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the United States. And let's talk about a study done at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Here's what they did. They took a whole group of students, and they gave them a set of challenges. Things like memorizing strings of digits, solving word puzzles, other kinds of spatial puzzles, even physical tasks like throwing a ball through a hoop. Okay, they gave them these challenges, and they said to incentivize their performance, they gave them 3 levels of rewards. Okay? So if you did pretty well, you got a small monetary reward. If you did medium well, you got a medium monetary reward. And if you did really well, if you were one of the top performers, you got a large cash prize. Okay? We've seen this movie before. This is essentially a typical motivation scheme within organizations, right? We reward the very top performers, we ignore the low performers, and the other folks kind of in the middle, okay, you get a little bit. So what happens? They do the test, they have these incentives, here's what they found out. 1, as long as the task involved only mechanical skill, bonuses worked as they would be expected. The higher the pay, the better their performance. Okay, that makes sense. But here's what happens. But once the task called for even rudimentary cognitive skill, a larger reward led to poorer performance. Now, this is strange, right? A larger reward led to poorer performance? How can that possibly be? Now, what's interesting about this is that these folks here who did this are all economists, 2 at MIT, 1 at the University of Chicago, 1 at Carnegie Mellon, okay, the top tier of the economics profession. And they're reaching this conclusion that seems contrary to what a lot of us learned in economics, which is that the higher the reward, the better their performance. And they're saying that once you get above rudimentary cognitive skill, it's the other way around. Which seems like this kind of, the idea that these rewards don't work that way seems vaguely left-wing and socialist, doesn't it? It's kind of this kind of weird socialist conspiracy. For those of you who have those conspiracy theories, I want to point out the notoriously left-wing socialist group that financed the research, the Federal Reserve Bank. So this is the mainstream of the mainstream coming to a conclusion that's quite surprising, seems to defy the laws of behavioral physics. So this is strange, a strange finding. So what do? They say, this is freaky. Let's go test it somewhere else. Maybe that $50 or $60 prize isn't sufficiently motivating for an MIT student, right? So let's go to a place where $50 is actually more significant relatively. Right? So let's take the experiment. We're going to go to Madurai, India, rural India, where $50, $60, whatever the number was, is actually a significant sum of money. So they replicated the experiment in India roughly as follows. Small rewards, the equivalent of 2 weeks' salary. Small performance, low performance, 2 weeks' salary. Medium performance, about a month's salary. High performance, about 2 months' salary. Okay, so those are real good incentives. Okay, so you're going to get a different result here. Well, what happened, though, was that the people offered the medium reward did no better than the people offered the small reward. But this time around, the people offered the top reward. They did worst of all. Higher incentives led to worse performance. What's interesting about this is that it actually isn't all that anomalous. This has been replicated over and over and over again by psychologists, by some extent by sociologists, and by economists, over and over and over again. For simple, straightforward tasks, those kinds of incentives, if you do this, then you get that, they're great. For tasks that are algorithmic, set of rules where you have to just follow along and get a right answer, if-then rewards, carrots and sticks, outstanding. But when the task gets more complicated, when it requires some conceptual, creative thinking, those kinds of motivators demonstrably don't work. In fact, money is a motivator at work, but in a slightly strange way. If you don't pay people enough, they won't be motivated. What's curious about, there's another paradox here, which is that the best use of money as a motivator is to pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table. Pay people enough so that they're not thinking about money and they're thinking about the work. Now, once you do that, it turns out there are 3 factors that the science shows lead to better performance, not to mention personal satisfaction. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy is our desire to be self-directed, to direct our own lives. Now, in many ways, traditional notions of management run afoul of that. Management is great if you want compliance, but if you want engagement, which is what we want in the workforce today as people are doing more complicated, sophisticated things, self-direction is better.
All right. Again, I'm going to give you the link to that. What's that?
Next, she says the free employee is investment.
Right.
That's the crowdsourcing stuff.
So what the discussion that we're talking about here is about motivating employees. And as I had said before earlier, if you take money off the table, in other words, I feel, as an employee, I feel fairly compensated. If I left here, I went somewhere else, I'm still going to get the same pay, so it's not an issue. Now what is it that distinguishes where they work and why they go to work that actually makes them motivated to do what they want to do or to work within your company? And the three major elements that they were talking about, the first one was basically what Simon Sinek was talking about. It's purpose. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? The next one was talking about autonomy. How many people feel like when they're at work that they actually have to micromanage their employees? How many people would say, or at least in your historical experience, how many times have you micromanaged staff? I know I have. I've micromanaged people. It's pretty common, right? How many of you can say, and I can say this hands down, I've done this and I've seen it over and over and over again, is how many people use money as a motivator to try and motivate your staff? How many people right now are using money as a motivator? Dude, if you do this, I'll give you $5,000 more. Whatever the case is, right? So we have 4 or 5 people say they're currently doing that. I've seen it over and over and over again where I've gone in and consulted and talked with business owners, EOers, etc., and constantly I am backing them off of, don't use that as the motivator. Use the motivators of being clear on what success means. Use the motivator of allowing them more autonomy to be in charge of what they're doing. Use the motivator of allowing them to actually build up within their career and gain mastery of what they're doing. And it's amazing how many times I've seen and been the victim of it myself, of going, here's the money, and wondering why the hell it didn't work any better.
So you're saying maybe instead of a bonus, someone might have more autonomy in their job or more flexibility?
Absolutely, yeah.
Compared to other people in the same role?
It might be. Usually it's autonomy, but it's the essence of they know that they can be successful and that they're not micromanaged and that they know what their measurement standards are. They know what success means, right? What are the things that motivated you to start your business, right?
It wasn't the money.
It wasn't the money.
Let's face it.
Go ahead.
What's your I hate managing them. What's your feeling on MBOs when it's not a clear defined? Like a sales is very easy, right? But if someone in marketing, for example, that has certain objectives that you have to hit, are you saying get rid of? I hate measuring them, so I'm wondering, are you saying here's your salary, here it is, but here's your responsibility?
Well, you got to measure them.
So I'm saying measure them, but
yeah.
are you saying put this MBO that you're paying against these, or that's just part of your job and your base salary covers that?
Well, I would definitely be always defaulting to that your job has very specific measurements of what success is.
Yep.
And these are the ways that we're going to measure this role because this is what we need done. It's your job. And so from then on, the compensation, how you're compensating them should be relative to this is what we're paying you for what you're doing. There's certain positions, right, that money isn't the motivator per se, but let's take sales, for example, right? Sales is a great example. A lot of salespeople are motivated by getting and closing that next deal because they know they're going to get their commission. But again, how you pay them relative to that needs to be reflective of, you're not saying I'm going to give you a bonus per se, you're going to say you get paid this percentage commission, and now you're in charge of it, so you have your own autonomy around that.
Yep.
Am I answering your question?
It's that, I'm just saying towards the marketing. I mean, sales is easy, it's clear, defined. You're either hitting your numbers or you're not, do whatever you want.
Right. You're saying from a marketing standpoint, like it's like you get this many leads, you get that.
You're doing this number of case studies, these type of things, number of PR events. If you're hitting this, you do it. Part of it, I look at it is going, okay, I could give someone a lower salary, put these MBOs here on the other side, and if all these are hitting, I'm not just giving them that total salary,
right,
one way or another.
Yeah. How many people, from a marketing standpoint, do you, within the marketing within your company, how many people have internal marketing within their company that they don't outsource? So with your staff, do you pay them, this is your rate and this is what the performance measurements are, or is it you do this, 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 and this, and then you'll get these bonuses?
Yeah, they have a base salary. What I've tried to experiment with, like if you do a blog a week, you're going to get a extra bonus after 6 months, and we'll renew it if it works well.
Yeah.
And
I personally would still fall with you need to do 10 blogs a week or whatever it is. You need to do a blog a week. You need to do this and this is what the compensation is, and the compensation fits this model, and that's what success is.
This is like the job description of the marketing.
Yeah.
Your job is
Define success.
4 blogs and 7 Twitters and whatever
Yeah.
the thing is that you define for the role. That's just a definition.
Which means
of
I
the
got to push a person out and restart over.
And then,
Because that's such a
and
bad
then the
mentality.
autonomy would be like, and then use your free day. This is where you do whatever you want to
Yeah.
do, and this is where they can succeed in their own ideas.
I would,
Basic
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I would say for me personally, I do not have an example where I've said, I've seen the success of marketing people be this way, like a salesperson. My personal would default back to what the science says and what my experience has been in other positions, that would be it.
Just going back to sales, does this mean like don't pay your salespeople commission on the number of deals they close?
No.
Salespeople are different.
Salespeople are a different animal for sure.
So sales is back to.
But you need to create a model. You need to create a model that's realistic, right? That says, for our company, typical salespeople, for our industry, typical salespeople make $200,000 a year. In order to make $200,000 a year, realistically, you need to close 12 deals a year. And we're going to measure you based on those 12 deals. You close these 12 deals because of the way sales works, you'll get paid a realistic, competitive salary. Now, some of those salespeople are just like, they'll close 24. Okay, we'll pay you that. So
an example in my business, lots of stuff is highly unmeasurable. We produce video. It's a little bit like painting a painting. It's like, not super quantifiable. Would a good example be, if we hit certain benchmarks, we get to make a film just for art's sake. We're going to do a short film together.
If you win an Oscar, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. In those videos, they talk about this. Again, it's about autonomy, right, and self-directed. As an example, it's like, hey guys, this is what needs to be done, but because we want greater autonomy, we want greater levels of self-direction, we're going to once a month give you a full day just to kick around new ideas, just to be creative, just to go out on your own. That adds to motivation, right? Hey, I'm not, they're not looking at me saying I got to do 8 hours and crank out and punch the clock at 8 hours. I actually have got this opportunity to think outside of the box, to do new things, to do things differently. Now they have a great example of that in the What Motivates Us. What doesn't work to motivate an employee, right? If you want to demotivate your staff, right? Micromanage them, take away their autonomy, don't measure them, create environments where they can't succeed, right? Unrealistic objectives, negative motivation, cash rewards seems to be the big thing of don't go and say, if you do this, I'll give you $5,000 more. Okay?
I haven't found that with my lowest paid employees. It worked the least, where you thought it would be the most incentivizing.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a very interesting part. It has worked this many times in my company.
It has worked this many times in 18 years of people that I have seen and done business with, and myself.
Yeah, 11 years I've paid out this many bonuses when I've offered
Right.
to kick up the productivity.
Okay. Anybody else have an experience? Actually, anybody have an experience where like, man, that bonus worked and I keep doing it every single year, it keeps working?
Yeah, I would love to hear about good
We're not sure. We have consultants, and we want to keep them on projects and be willing to take on new projects when they come in. So we do have a system that they get bonuses based on the amount that they're utilized, and also by client satisfaction and how productive they are. So it's kind of a three-tiered bonus, and we're still trying to figure out how it's working. I mean, I think it is, but it goes totally against what Dan thinks.
What they're saying, yeah.
So, in an environment like that, are you feeling like you haven't seen that work?
I've never really seen it where it's made a difference. And again, this is his research and the information, all that. It's all based on the bell curve, right? So these are generalizations. Every now and then, you're going to get somebody who's like, man, they are completely motivated by bonuses, and they sit down and they crank it out. I just haven't seen them. What does work to motivate an employee, and we've gone over a number of these things, but these are more on an operational standpoint from being a leader within your company and your managers, as opposed to, okay, you've got autonomy, you've got an opportunity for mastery through career development plans, the ability to get continuing education, etc., and a purpose, but is providing a challenging work environment for your staff, right? Where you actually are challenging them to meet the next level. Again, the autonomy follows around control. If you work within an environment and the employees don't feel like there's cooperation within the company, that it's an independent company and autonomy has been, it's not really autonomy, it's every man for himself, right? You don't want to have that. You want to have cooperation and support within a company. How many people can actually say that they have had a conversation fixing a problem and just said, you know what, I actually took some time out to recognize quality and performance of an employee. I just came up to somebody and said, you know what, you've been doing a really great job. I recognize you for this, dun, dun, dun. Who did this in the last week? Okay, that's pretty cool.
But you know, it works best when you do it in front of other people, so that person is getting status among your peers.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I say it all the time, actually. I don't just wait for a meeting.
Great.
Honestly.
Yeah. So that's an important, it's a huge, people want to feel success and they want to feel recognized for their success.
Doesn't that depend on the age and the culture of the person? Like, I learned that young people like to be recognized in front of other people, but older people are embarrassed.
Yeah. Present company excluded.
That generation of, you know, what is it, the millennials like to be recognized in front of their friends, whereas the matures don't like to be recognized because it's separating them from their peers.
I prefer the largest group possible.
You know, I think that people, I mean, I think that you're probably right that there are people who are more embarrassed in front of other people, but I think, and this is just my own personal thing, no statistics behind it, I think people enjoy being recognized, period. One way or another, they enjoy being recognized. Yeah. Happiness at work, if you know, don't take that for granted. Are people really happy at work? You might, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly thinking everything is good, but maybe it's not. So it's important to make sure that that does motivate employees. And the establishment of trust, do what you say. That's huge. If you break that bond of trust, it has a huge impact on the motivation of employees. Do what you say. And make sure that the people within your work environment do what they say. Common management mistakes. This always cracks me up. Anybody believe you can force inspiration? Yeah. Probably not. Like I said earlier, assuming employees are happy. So many of us aren't at our work environment. We're off at meetings, we're off here, we're etc. We come in. You ever hear the phrase about the monkeys in the tree? Right? We're the business owners, we're at the top of the tree, we're looking down on all the monkeys, they're all smiling up at us, right? The monkeys on the bottom are looking up at a bunch of assholes. Right?
There's your take-home, people.
Something to consider, right? You look down, you walk in, everybody seems like they're happy. Do the mechanical elements within the company to find out whether or not people truly are happy, right? 360-degree reviews, drop boxes, an opportunity for them to suggest problems. But also, when you do that, don't create an environment that just allows all sorts of dumping. Make an environment that says, if you see there's a problem, point out the problem and give us some recommendations to solve that problem. Really, really important place. It also adds to the motivation of employees, right? If they feel like they are part of the solution.
We put people on probation in the office. I don't know if that's a penalty or a threat, but when we found that the person is, lacking this, something.
That's a performance issue.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't say, hey, buddy, write down your time and tickets correctly. We say, write down your time and tickets correctly, or you can leave.
Right.
And you have a month to get it together.
How many of those people?
Yeah.
How many of those people that you've put on probation and performance reviews, etc., actually continued to be successful, were able to pull themselves back out, and then became successful employees within your company? All of them? None of mine.
I wanted to make a point earlier about happiness. I remember so clearly a conversation with one of our employees where I had to say it, long conversations. I don't know what else I can do to make you happy. And that totally resonated. And then later on, it's like, I don't think this has anything to do with this company. I'm just not happy. That sometimes you can do whatever you want to. You can provide everything, and this person isn't happy.
Okay.
There's nothing to
I'm
do
10 over, 10 left. Okay. All right. Being told to pick up the pace here.
No, all
right, thank you. I've never really felt that I have never seen, if it ever has happened, it's been very rare, where somebody's actually gone on that you put them on probation or you put them on some type of notice and that they actually worked out. They usually will either A, self-select out, or B, you'll end up firing them eventually.
You're talking legitimate, like Animal House, double secret probation.
What I'm saying is you keep fucking up in this, and here's how it's done, and you need to do it like everybody else is doing it the right way, and you have a month.
Okay.
And then if they turn it around, and my employees are really, really happy. One of my employees was offered a really big salary, and he didn't take it because he likes working with us.
Okay. Well, I think the key is you called them on performance. You put them on probation, but the reality is you called them on performance.
Also, you clearly have an environment where they want to work there. If they're motivated to say, hey, he's correcting me. If I want this job, and I really do, I'm gonna change my behavior.
We're family.
Yeah.
It's true.
I think the element, though, as we're trying to kind of wrap this up, is being really clear on within your company. Another management mistake is ignoring inter-office tension, and not doing something about it. You got to deal with it. All right, we're going to jump through here.
Show everybody that, TJ will do a part two.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so these are the elements that I wanted to talk about in summary of making sure of how to attract, retain, and motivate your employees, right? So being really crystal clear on your why, right? And then, again, these videos, you can go and look them up, on YouTube. Simon Sinek, RSA Animate, What Motivates Us. Being really crystal clear on your company goals. This is what we're doing. These are the objectives. Developing the mechanics, having all of the job descriptions, the roles, the organizational structure in place. Establishing employee goals so that you know what the employee, this is how we're going to measure you, and this is what the goals are that you are focused on. Being in touch with both your goals, the company goals, and the employee goals. That allows them to work towards mastery, allows them to work on having more autonomy, etc., and being clear with that. And then celebrating the successes, autonomy, mastery, and purpose within the company. Okay? I'm not going to go through that. Questions? Quick questions.